sure what the music selection was going to be. I left it in Lloyd's hands. That was pretty tame. So welcome, everybody. It is so great to be back here. Lloyd, thank you so much for the kind introduction and the opening remarks. It's going to be a great event. I can't believe it's been 2 years since we were back here. Wow, a lot's happened in the last 2 years. In the panel that I moderated a couple years ago in 2013, the key topics at the time were disaster preparedness and readiness, outage management, restoration, smart meter analytics, big data. Still relevant topics, but wow, a lot's changed in just the last 2 years. In 2 short years, disruption is happening at an unbelievable pace, which means there's endless opportunities for innovation. Change today has never happened this fast, ever. And it will never happen this slowly again. If you looked at the number of times digital disruption has been Googled over the years, it's really skyrocketed just in the last few years. Take a look. But disruption's not new. Disruptive technologies and inventions aren't new. Let's take a look at the next chart. Some of you have maybe seen this analysis from the Harvard Business Review, New York Times. It's what's known as an adoption curve. Again, take a look at those 2 yellow bars and how that rate of disruption and change has accelerated over the last century. Pretty amazing when you look at that. Now, let's take a look at how some of these various technologies over the last several years have been adopted. Okay, the PC, launched in '81, took around 27 years just to reach 100 million users. That was pretty innovative. I think we all would agree that changed our lives. But fast forward to 2004 when Facebook was launched, it only took them 8 years to reach 1 billion users. A few years later, Android's launched in 2008, only 4 years to 1 billion users. It's unbelievable. And as time has passed, what's happened is that adoption has happened faster and faster and faster. And so that begs the question, what's next? What's coming next? So when we think about how to both respond to disruption, to embrace it, to enable it, to create it, I can't think of a better theme for this week's conference than achieving the ultimate state of readiness. Because if you're going to live in a world of disruption, you got to be ready. You got to be ready to create new opportunities. You got to be able to create and to consume and apply these new innovations for your employees, for your customers, and for many, quite simply to just survive. Over 40% of the companies that were at the top of the Fortune 500 in the year 2000 were no longer there in 2010. Even the disruptors are now being disrupted. Think about Uber. Uber's amazing. They're being disrupted. Have you all heard of Lyft? Anybody use Lyft? Lyft is disrupting Uber now. Think about how Amazon changed all of our lives in terms of how we shop, how we network. It disrupted Target, Walmart. They're being disrupted now. Jet.com. Unbelievable. If you haven't checked it out, go check out the website. So the disruption is constantly happening around us. And in utilities, take a company called Yaloha. Look at what they're doing. They're looking at being the Uber of community solar by developing a shared economy for the use of solar energy. Their theory is that there's a huge addressable market in people who want to leverage solar energy, but they can't. Maybe they don't have the right roof, maybe they live in an apartment building. They just don't have the right situation. So Yaloha finds hosts who are willing to have these panels installed at no charge, and then they sell the energy to Sun partners, or people who want to use that solar energy because maybe they're not able to do it in their own house. As I mentioned, maybe they have an apartment or whatever the situation is. And that's a whole new market. Think about that. Because no business, no industry is immune from the disruption that's taking place in the digital economy today. Nobody. So what I thought I'd talk about today is what we're seeing, not just in utilities, but across all of our customers, and looking at how are we seeing some of our customers really embrace disruption is a means to truly reimagine how they do business, how they manage their workforce, how they create new value for customers and shareholders. There's one thing that hasn't changed, right? Every business has certain fundamentals. And that includes a workforce, customers, gotta have customers, assets, and suppliers. So let's start with the workforce, which we all know is just changing rapidly, which also means the work itself is changing. How we do the work is changing. And recruiting is a key focus for many companies, and you all know that better than anybody here in utilities. Many industries have a workforce that's eligible for retirement, an aging workforce, whether it be utilities, government, for just a couple examples. According to Oxford Economics, 30% of executives are saying that they're putting a very big focus on the needs and wants of their millennial generation, which is now the largest generation in our workforce today. And we know that in addition to just hiring younger talent, folks right out of college, Lloyd mentioned right now it's only about 2%, which is unbelievable in utilities, but you gotta have the right skills. It's not just about getting younger talent. How do you get the right skills? And that's especially a challenge in your industry. So these realities really require us to completely rethink how do we go out and engage recruits and bring them through the process. How do we bring them on board? How do we train them? And I want to give an example. And it's actually, I won't say her last name because I don't want to embarrass her. She might be in the room. Her name is Alex, and she works actually in our utilities group. And we hired her as a young talent out of university. And we've done something at SAP over the last several years. We have really put a focus on recruiting talent right outside of college or younger talent. For many years, SAP tended to have a workforce probably with an average age in the 40s. And about 3 or 4 years ago, we created something we call the SAP Graduate Academy, which allowed us to go out and recruit talent in new ways, bring in a lot of the talent right out of the universities. We put them through a pretty rigorous several-month training process. And then we actually created a 9-month rotation for a lot of these Sales Academy graduates across different parts of our business. So they could spend time, whether it be maybe in marketing or services or product development. It allowed them to really find where their passion was and to build the right skills so that when we put them in a more permanent position, they were ready. They were in a state of readiness. And so Alex, when she got her first assignment, she was given a list of utilities customers. And the first thing she thought of is, well, you know what? I know that so many of my customers are struggling with recruiting new talent, so who better than to maybe give them perspective than me? Because I'm kind of the audience that they're looking to recruit. So what did she do? She actually engaged in that experience, and she went where she normally went. She leveraged her social media channels. She went on LinkedIn. She used Twitter, social media, et cetera. But what she found is a lot of these utilities companies weren't where she was. She actually had to seek them out. She had to go to their website, she had to email them, and she had to really go out of her way to find them. So they didn't even know where she was. And that gave her a different perspective and approach by which she could go back and talk to her utilities customers, not about features and functions about a recruiting system, but how do you engage beyond the 4 walls of your organization, leveraging these different channels to recruit new talent. Because I'll tell you, one thing that I've found as we've really put a focus on this in our own workforce is that the number of years absolutely does not always equal the best ideas. And it's been pretty amazing to see a lot of the new ideas and innovations that have come to light within SAP and a lot of our customers by really unleashing this talent. We also have to engage customers in new ways of learning. Take a look and speak to BC Hydro. They've made learning a critical part of their employee life cycle, and it's having a really big impact. They are forecasting about a 200% ROI in the first year of the deployment of their learning management system. And you also have to think about a workforce that's changing not just in age, but also in terms of being more flexible, more elastic, a contingent workforce. By the year 2020, some estimates say that about 40% of the workforce in North America will be contingent labor. These are just a couple examples of how the workforce itself is really changing, because it really does begin and end with the people. And when you think about the workforce, it's a much broader perspective in place than it was last year or the year before, and it's going to continue to change. All right, let's move over to suppliers. Every company has suppliers. And all of us need to be able to work with suppliers in a different way in the digital economy. It's not just about procuring goods and services or working with a certain set of suppliers. It's about optimizing a network that reaches beyond your four walls and beyond the typical partners that you might deal with. Truly an extension of your business, a business network. We all see the power of a network in our personal lives. The business network is no different. It's already happening. This isn't a new idea. And we're fortunate to be leading the way in this area of the business network. At SAP in our business network, today, we have over 1.5 million companies transacting over 100 million transactions on this business network at about just under $1 trillion in commerce. Think about that. That's happening today. And to put it in perspective, that's more than eBay, Amazon, and Alibaba combined. Pretty amazing. And we see on average with our utilities customers, about 50% of our utilities customers have recognized the value and are leveraging the business network. AEP and National Grid are two great examples. And McKinsey also, according to a study from them, over half of the network companies will have better profit margins, higher sales, and really be the market leaders. So we're reimagining this category of the supplier network in new ways with all of you because we really believe, and it's already happening, this is a major opportunity to create operational savings around your OpEx. Let's talk about assets. Perhaps the most dramatic change in the digital economy is being driven by hyperconnectivity and big data, also known as the Internet of Things, IoT. I don't need to tell you what that means. This is something I know you all are living with every day. And this is going to continue to drive disruption and innovation. IDC estimates IoT spending in 2015 to exceed $1.7 trillion. In 2020, this number will grow to $3 trillion. And it really can bring to life new ways when you take an aging infrastructure as an example and replace it with more sophisticated technology capable of remote sensing or self-diagnostics. Think about how that impacts your field crews, your customers. Another area is augmented reality, or 3D visualization, or integrating GIS technology. The possibilities are absolutely endless. We see PG&E and Alliander doing some really innovative things with IoT. And when we look beyond utilities, we're doing some amazing things in agriculture around precision farming, or in aerospace, taking all of that data from an airplane, for example, to create better outcomes around predictive maintenance, scheduling of the crews as an example. And what's fascinating as we work with all these different customers around IoT is that customers in every industry are becoming technology companies themselves. Think about that. IoT is creating a whole new part of the business for every company in every industry. And we're excited because this is what we've done for over 44 years. So we're really working closely with customers in the area of IoT, and I would encourage you to really bring those conversations forward or ideas forward around areas where potentially we could co-innovate together. But the key, obviously, to leveraging these innovations is to be able to continue to get closer to service your customers. Because every company has customers. Those customers are changing the way they buy, the way they search, network, and they're doing it in a true omni-channel environment. It's no longer linear relationships that we have with customers. They're sophisticated relationships. Customers want to have a deep experience. They're willing to pay more for it to have a better experience. NRG CEO David Crane pointed out companies like Google, Comcast, SolarCity, Tesla, they're eating away at traditional utility business models by providing products and services directly to the consumer that are deemed essential to the enrichment of their life experience. All of us know this. In our personal lives, we want things that make our lives easier. We want to spend time on the things that matter because, let's be honest, it's those moments that really matter. Every moment matters for us. And who knows if we'll ever see a day where every American home goes solar? It seems like so far out there. It's probably not. But imagine if just a percentage of all homes went solar. Think about that addressable market and the opportunity that that creates. It's not just about customer service. It's not just about a call center. All of today's customers are digitally connected, they're socially networked, and they're better informed than ever before. So the key is businesses really need to anticipate, predict, and be where their customers are going to be before they get there. And we've been so fortunate to work together with you on many CIS innovations. And what I'm talking about goes beyond CIS. CIS is table stakes. We have to do that really, really well. But it's getting into some of the more sophisticated and predictive capabilities in engaging with customers. We've got great momentum with many of the customers in the room, like PHI, Snohomish, who we just mentioned, Lloyd, and Washington Gas, and so many more. And we really appreciate this partnership as we continue to really innovate in this area. We've been in this industry for a long time. We're very fortunate to have wonderful customers like you. And the position that we're in today in this digital economy is a position that we had planned for. We've invested probably $50 billion or so over the last several years, whether it be in new innovations or acquisitions. And the strategy that we've taken has truly uniquely positioned us for this moment in time, for this moment in the digital economy. We have really put a focus on each of the categories I discussed today: customer, supplier, assets, workforce, to create differentiation within each of those categories. Each of those categories are truly being redefined by themselves. But the key is to create a digital core that truly brings all of those categories together seamlessly. It's no longer about a front office or a back office. That's yesterday's news. It's about a real-time connected enterprise across all facets of the business. And when this happens, customers can truly create their own state of readiness. Because we're at a moment of convergence. We really are at a moment of convergence right now. The disruption is unbelievable. The new market forces present enormous challenges, but again, incredible opportunity. So as I close, I'm going to finish where I started: disruption. Don't fear disruption. It's here to stay. It's only going to come faster. Embrace it. Grab onto it. Even better, create your own disruption. In this race, the early disruptors will be the winners. Because the winners will be the one who will be able to put themselves in the ultimate state of readiness and be prepared for whatever comes next in this digital economy. I want to thank you sincerely for your time today, and thank you for making the investment to travel out here and be with us over the next couple days. We're looking forward to a great conference, and I'm looking forward to speaking and meeting with many of you. Thank you very much for your time.